So, I was not caught up to One Piece for a very long time. Um, it actually been almost a whole year since I have read the medium. That's why I haven't talked about One Piece on the channel for, I want to say, a plethora of my time in the last year when I did talk about manga in general. But there has been some things that made me want to catch up this recent Sunday, at least at the time of recording this video. Yeah, it's the 7th of April. I think I caught up on like the 5th. And there's some things that we need to talk about. I'm not going to sit here and talk about the many different issues that many people, including myself, have with Emu's final design, or the fact that he's dark skinned. I don't like the fact that they are continuously making One Piece characters darker skinned and then continuously lighting the skin of like Usopp and Nico Robin. I don't like that, or at least from the anime standpoint. But this video is not about that at all. For obvious reasons, if you are not caught up to One Piece chapter 1179, please do not watch this video. Go back and read that chapter before coming back to watch this video. But if you want to see more weekly analysis of One Piece chapters, be sure to like the video, subscribe, and turn on bell notifications as well. Follow the Twitch down below. The way, hopefully, we can have weekly discussions live about the subject. Now, with that being said, back to the video. This video, I want to focus more on the God Valley flashback and more on my theories on how it ties into current day chapters that we are seeing in Elbaf on One Piece. First and foremost, I think it's safe to say that Loki and Captain Rocks might be two of my favorite characters that we've seen in One Piece so far. Now it might be recency bias, but I genuinely do think that they are some very well written characters so far. Rocks especially, because I really do believe that he's kind of like what the true embodiment of what a pirate really is. Something that we don't see to that extent within modern day One Piece, because a lot of it, in my personal opinion, has evolved more than just a pirate anime. Loki essentially never seeing love from his family for a majority of his life, almost damn near until it was too late, and Rocks having some of the most aura that we have seen from any character combined in the series outside of maybe Gold D. Roger, and Rayleigh, of course. It's very much safe to say, in my personal opinion, that Rocks might be the greatest pirate of all time. And that's saying quite a lot, considering that this story is about Luffy becoming the king of pirates, but also the fact that Gold D. Roger was considered the king of pirates because he sailed the entire seas and this, that, and third, right? These aren't even bad arguments. But at least in terms of like how I like what I like personally, Rocks might be my personal GOAT. However, when it comes to the theories about One Piece at this exact moment, a lot of them kind of revolve around what the actual will of D is. Now, if you don't know already, or if you don't remember, the will of D is something that has been consistently brought up by other people in the One Piece space, if that makes sense. Like literally like characters continuously. Mostly world government officials, mostly people who are like a celestial dragon level threat, things of that nature. Those are most of the time the people who are bringing up what this will of D is. And after learning that Emu has basically some type of connection to Davy Jones, which is a character that was mentioned a lot during the God Valley flashback. And Joy Boy, which most people have been referring to just as the Sun God or Nika at this point. Most people make the assumption that the Will of D isn't necessarily this theory isn't really mine, it is stolen. But most people theorize that the Will of D is essentially just I wouldn't say it just a flat out just like, oh, it's not like this actual inherited power that comes with each person who has the D initial in their name. No, I think it's more of an ideology. Now, once again, this theory wasn't stolen, but it's something that I actually do completely agree with, considering what we see in the show, and especially after figuring out that One Piece, that's, or not figuring out, but theorizing that certain devil fruits also, whatchamacallit, can sometimes pass on the soul from the previous user. So if that was truly the case, that makes a lot of sense for not only Luffy, but also for Blackbeard. Two people who have devil fruits, who, well, yeah, who have devil fruits from legendary figures. Blackbeard having at the very least Whitebeard's devil fruit, and might most likely also having the devil fruit that somehow is linked to Davy D. Jones. However, I think that's mostly theory because I cannot confirm if Davy Jones also had Blackbeard's devil fruit. But it is safe to say, at the very minimum, that this will of D that people mention so often in this show is feared by Emu. Like, he genuinely despises this. Like, before actually coming down to teleport to Elbaf, he was going on about the many people who have the will of D. You know, it was Shirahoshi, it was Captain Rocks, it was Monkey D. Luffy, it was Shanks. I think even Blackbeard was also appearing in those panels, right? It's important to note that these people will not be shown for no reason when it comes to Emu's hate. I believe that these are the only characters that are linked to his defeat, right? Because if Emu truly does not like the will of D that much, that purely means that that's something against his ideology. I think it's kind of similar. No, I cannot say similar. I think that's what's going on, because if that's really what it like, if like, I know I'm kind of talking in circles right now, but you're not going to continuously talk about this will of D if it's not something that can go against your personal ideology as at this point, right? Which in this case, almost every one of those characters goes against his ideology or what he wants to do at some point in time. Monkey D. Luffy wants complete liberation for himself and by extension the world. Blackbeard is probably Blackbeard's jet ass in the same way. He's just going about it differently. That's another video for a different time. Blackbeard and Luffy are two sides of the same coin in terms of actual character writing. But once again, video for a different day. Comment down below if you want to see that analysis breakdown. It's gonna take a minute because I like to make sure I get all my facts ready to give you all of it. But for the most part, that's what that is. But that's neither here nor there. I don't think it's a direct lineage sort of thing. I think it's just a passed on of ideology, an ideology of liberation and freedom. Because if you hear about what Luffy's goal is, for the most part, it's purely to be as free. It's just to be the freest man on the planet, which probably might look different to each person reading or watching this video. But at the very minimum, it can also look very much different to each pirate in the show, let alone each person who has the quote unquote will of D. Complete side note though, I also want to mention how funny it is that Usopp damn near rage baited Emu into coming down to basically fight down at Elbaf. So now the entire country of Elbaf is at even more risk because this nigga Usopp wanted to rage bait niggas about pride. But at least shifting the gear towards Emu, there's a lot of questions and a lot of things that we have regarding Emu. More of what exactly is his power. Some folks theorize, or if it was said and I don't remember, forgive me, but I'm pretty sure somebody theorized that he has the quote unquote the devil's fruit, which essentially in this case would mean like the OG devil fruit. Like he was the OG curse that made with the devil. So much so to the point that if he even goes on to anything that isn't the Holy Land, he takes damage. Because if you read the final chapter, when Emu finally teleported down to the main stage of Elbaf, he was basically coughing up blood, and he was wiping blood from his mouth when he came down. A lot of people can make the argument that, at least with the theory in hand, that he cannot be even close to water, or he can't just be, or he can't even be out of his domain without taking some type of damage, or allowing, or at the very minimum, allowing himself to be killed. Because if he's truly this god being or whatnot, it's very much safe to say that he's going to have some very specific ramifications for how he can die or pass away. But I didn't have a lot of thoughts for this specific chapter outside of that. But if you liked the video, be sure to subscribe and push the bell notifications. Yes, I'm going to tell you it again. But more importantly, comment down below your theories of what can happen later in the series based on what we've read so far. And if you somehow made it to the end of the video, be sure to deep fry that like button. Yes, I'm keeping that around. I don't care. It's funny to me, so you're going to continuously hear it. But with that being said, y'all have a fantastic day. I'm signing off.